Empire.
Hello and welcome to another live stream edition of the John Conn Report. Do me a favor, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube later, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com and you can listen to the Bram Weinstein Show. Bram, where can you listen to it?
Sup? You can listen to it on the radio still from 11 to 12, and it turns into a podcast at 12 noon every day. Check it out. We just went back up on YouTube again. So
there you go.
So I'm just trying to catch up to you, John. That's all.
Well, I think this team is going to allow a lot of people to catch up to a lot of people because there's a little bit of excitement in case you haven't noticed. So it's funny because I don't even know where to begin with this team anymore because it's starting to get, I wouldn't say old hat because it's not, but it's every week it's less surprising to me what they're doing. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going with we're in a new normal.
Yeah.
I think the quarterback is a special player. I think the buy-in is real. We could talk about this, but like there's just players up and down the roster that are making plays across the board.
Yep.
And when you have guys, 40 through 45 making plays, like I'll even just point out towards the end of the game, go watch a run that kind of, the game was over because the backups were in, but on a 3rd and 11, they hand off to Jeremy McNichols and he's sprung by Ben Sinnott and there's a block downfield by Bryson Tremaine. Like it's everybody. Like it's just everybody. The chemistry is real, and I don't think we're going back. And I think what I'm really just excited about this week is this is the first time I felt like they've had a big game litmus test with a team on the rise. Like we've had some big games, but this one feels like a team on the rise type of big game, litmus test game. A lot of focus is going to be on it. They tried to flex it. Obviously, I don't blame them for trying to flex it. Like this is real. I'm in a new normal with it. I'm as surprised as anybody that it's happened this fast because it's really kind of defies logic and historic precedent to turn a team upside down like this and be this good this fast. But I'm enjoying it. That's for sure.
Yeah. And when you look at Sunday too, and because I was going to start here, I guess, how do you view this game for this team? Because I see some people will say like, well, this is the reality check here, or is this the game where you see if they're for real? I don't view it that way. I think they're a good team.
Yeah.
Whatever happens Sunday, but I don't, and if you go up there and you spring a big upset, if you have a big win, that says a lot. But I don't look at it like, oh, their bubble was punctured if they somehow lost. I don't view it that way.
No, I think Baltimore, I have full respect for them. They do this year in, year out. They've got a 2-time MVP, the reigning MVP. They've got what probably will be the best rush offense in the NFL. I mean, Washington does right now, but they probably will by the end of all of it, assuming that Lamar and Derrick Henry stay healthy. I think this is a hell of a test for the defense to find out kind of where they are, especially on the run defense. They've just kind of been there, done that. And that team has 8 of these a year, maybe more. And they've just become accustomed to it. What I'm really, really, really excited about is I really think that this is an opportunity for Washington to put themselves in that class here early. And we're going to find out. And I'm with you on if they lose, they lose. Like you're playing in Baltimore against a team that was in the AFC Championship and could easily be there again, this year. I think it's pretty obvious they could be. But let's find out where it is. And I don't think we've had an ascending team in a game like this in a very long time. And honestly, I don't think it's exaggeration. Who is playing better than them, Washington, in the NFL right now? Like, I don't think anybody is playing better than them right now. So this is a good test for Baltimore too. I mean, they're gonna take on what I think is the hottest team in the NFL.
Well, listen, it's funny because we're going to get into the offenses too. And right now, these are the 2 highest scoring offenses in the NFL. And, traditionally, obviously, even last year, Baltimore's defense was outstanding. And I talked to Jamison Hensley, our ESPN Ravens report. I'm going to play that, I think, on Friday. but just talking about the issues that they're having on defense. So this has the potential to be a lot like that Cincinnati game, 38-33, or the game the Ravens played last week against the Bengals, where it's, high scoring back and forth because the Ravens have I think it's the 26th ranked defense in scoring and 19th in yards per game.
Yeah.
So they've had their struggles there. So that's why I think this could be, it could be a really fun game to watch for that reason. And it's kind of an non-traditional Baltimore team with what their defense is doing. But I think it just adds to what could be a really fun game Sunday to watch.
Yeah, I mean, like they lost their whole defensive staff. Like things are gonna happen. I mean, everything's fluid. This whole team is completely new on that side of the ball. A lot of things are new for them. Mike McDonald's coaching Seattle now. Anthony Weaver's coaching in Miami now. They elevated to a different defensive coordinator. It's not performing like it did a year ago yet. But like it's early, and we've learned this forever. Like it's a very long season. Like how this team is performing right now, how they're performing right now is not necessarily indicative of how they're going to perform in, November, December, but I like where it's going. And I do feel like that. I don't think this is an aberration. I don't think it's a fluke. I do think they're playing extraordinarily well. I would put them up, honestly, with anybody in the NFL, the way they're going specifically on offense right now. The defense is coming around. I still think there are a few things. And I think Dan Quinn and Joe Witt would agree with this. Like all people are asking, like, did they arrive? That was a hell of a performance against Cleveland. 7 sacks. They held them 38 yards in the first half. I think some of that, to be fair, is just how poorly Cleveland's offense is functioning, how uncreative their offense it is, and how poorly Deshaun Watson is playing the position of quarterback. And we can give some examples of that, but I don't want to take anything away from the Washington defense, who took advantage of it, blew them out, won just about every key moment. Just about every key moment they won in the game. But there is one thing that isn't happening yet, and that is what they preached would be the norm for them, which is turning the ball over, and it hasn't happened yet. So, they haven't arrived until they do what they said they're going to do, is not just physical play, but get the ball. I mean, think about this for a moment. Like all these points that Washington scored, highest scoring team in the NFL. How many short fields have they had? Like
2.
They had two. They had a punt return, after the interception. They got a nice punt return to the 34 and scored on that drive. And they had a good kickoff return from Eckler a couple games ago that got them in position to score. Where's the interceptions at the 10 or the fumbles at the 20? Or none of that. None of that has happened. So they're walking down the field and scoring, which I think is continually indicative of how efficient and how good the entire offensive unit is playing.
Well, and it's also, look at how one of the things that they really emphasize, we saw this all summer, situational work, right? On offense, on both sides of the ball, but on offense, obviously, so we'll go to there because they're doing so well. 4th downs, 8 for 8. Look at the red zone efficiency outside of one game. It's outstanding. And, it's funny because I went back, that's what I was doing today. I went back and watched all the 4th down plays that they've converted, watching all the plays in the red zone. And the efficiency with it, but it's also because they're multidimensional. It's not just Jaden Daniels. It's Jaden Daniels' threat of the arm and the legs. It's the running back game. It's the running backs. And then you have receivers who can hurt you. And it's like sometimes you're putting Eckler and Robinson together. What's going to happen? And they're throwing people off because of that. You can see defenses sometimes hesitating because of it. I thought the Browns did a good job against them in the red zone, but they are so efficient down there right now that's a lot of what this is coming down to. And if they had been this efficient against the Giants, people would have been ecstatic after that game because they moved the ball up and down the field.
Well, they very easily could have scored 30 in every game during this win streak. They very easily could have had over 40 this past week. They had 40 the week before. Like they're just a juggernaut right now. And 5 is a special player. And I think that needs, because there's a couple of moments that are just wow situations that we've seen, like the throw downfield to Terry, or even my favorite play of the game, which was the 4th and 3, where he scrambled out away from a free rusher and ran, 34 yards down the field. He's got Eckler blocking for him downfield. He jukes Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of his. Everything is so smooth and fluid, and he's just rarely putting the ball in the wrong place. He's rarely making bad decisions. He had more misses in this game than he's had really in recent weeks. He could add a touchdown to Ertz. He could add a touchdown to McLaurin. He missed Ertz on a seam throw. But still, in the end, very rarely is he putting the ball in any kind of harm's way. the clutch nature of his play on third down. I mean, the De'Ami Brown touchdown pass, it's not even just that touchdown pass. He made a crazy play on third down to run away from pressure, gets out of bounds. As he's running back on the field, turns to his offensive coordinator and whispers or says to him, call this play, runs up to, like, knowing, almost like omniscient, knowing that it's going to be there before he even sees what Cleveland has on the field, walks out there, keeps his eyes in the center of the field to hold the safety just for a second and throws a dot to De'Ami Brown. It's a ridiculous level of quarterback play, specifically for a guy who's been doing it for 5 games. It is by far early the best rookie quarterback season I think we've ever seen. And we'll see how long it lasts, because like, I don't know if he can keep this up, but it's just moment after moment after moment where his athleticism, his poise, all of it, it's just outrageous. And then everything in front of him, Sam Cosmi's killing people. Tyler Biadasz should be in the Pro Bowl at this point. And he's just finding anyone everywhere. We're in an everybody eats offense. Everybody gets the ball. They're playing extraordinarily physical. I can't say enough really great things. And the scores indicate that. It is not easy to blow people out in the NFL, and they're doing it now, like week after week.
Well, and that's a thing. That's why I kind of laughed. Like someone after after they came back from Arizona and Cincinnati, like, well, those are 2 of the easiest teams. Like, dude, watch the NFL for a little bit. And then, you know what I mean? Like, but to your point, one, you cannot forget what CJ Stroud did last year. I think he was really freaking good. Like, that was a historic rookie season too. He is a different kind of quarterback, and he's impacting in different ways. Those two together, it's funny because they're really good friends. That that it's just remarkable what they've done. The other thing is, here's the thing on the play you pointed out to De'Ami. Part of the reason I think he said that is because they ran the same play 2 plays earlier, or they ran the same play and the same coverage, and De'Ami had him down the side. I've got to believe that De'Ami said, I had him, or something like that, right?
Yes.
So I think
De'Ami said to us, we did the post-game interview with him, and he had said, and the way he put it was, I knew the corner was tired, so he said that, and he ran by him. But I mean, just think about the setup of it, that he gets this first down with his legs while he's on the sideline, has the peace of mind to turn to the offensive coordinator and say, call this play now. He does call it, like, not even knowing how the Browns are going to line up. I mean,
they did know, but that's what I'm saying.
He's a step ahead. It's the Matrix. It's ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think they did know. That's why he called for it. I think because they had just run the exact same play before he had that scramble. This play before was the same play. So I think they did know how they would what they would probably get, and they got it. And I still think I agree with you that it's still a very heads up play that he did. Here's the other thing. What also impressed me on that aspect too, Bram, it's not just that he said it to him. What did Cliff do? He called it. Like, yes. I mean, it's just like
cooperation. Yeah, there's a cooperation going on here that's another major difference from last year was there was no cooperation that was going on. Yeah.
Well, the word collaboration was used often for what players wanted from the offense. And Sam Howell was one of the last ones to come around, I think, on certain feelings last year. But he even used the word collaboration at the end. He's like, what would you need collaboration? And I think we saw that, right? And so we've seen it this year, and for sure. And when you have that trust building, it's really something special. The other thing too, Bram, speaking with this game Sunday, obviously there's a rivalry that kind of isn't because you don't play enough, but there is a rivalry to get to sell tickets to games, to sell jerseys, to get suites sold and all that.
Sure.
And the two of the things that can help sell those are the quarterbacks. And that's why it's kind of fun to be in this position where you could have 2 of the most exciting quarterbacks in this region. And you're going to start to see that fan base build back out again, I think in part because of number 5.
Yeah, I think so. That was a great crowd, by the way, like as engaged a crowd as we've had at that stadium in a while, because I think there's a level of disbelief because there's just so much that's off here. I mean, John, like the more I think about this, like they're rewriting their own franchise's history this year. Like they're doing things week after week. We get a list, from the team or the NFL that do all these stats every week after every game. And it's this litany of not since 1973, not since 1991, not since World War II, not since, like, we had one where they had 3 rushing touchdowns in 4 of their first 5 games, not since the 1954 San Francisco 49ers has that happened. Like, over and over, Jaden Daniels obviously rewriting what a rookie quarterback can look like. People are talking about he should be in an MVP discussion at this point. The only rookie to ever win, that's Jim Brown. I mean, we're talking about like levels of history that are really, really hard to put into context. And granted, it's only 5 games, but if this were to continue on any level, like, we are literally rewriting the history books in the NFL. They're rewriting it for the franchise. They're having one of the most unique seasons they've ever had. And it's clearly, if nothing else, the start of, I hope, something really special for a period of time, because the buy-in, the chemistry, all of it is so evident and there. And Jaden Daniels has been extraordinary for somebody who's only played 5 NFL games.
For sure. And this is why when I look at this game, and I'm seeing some comments here about it too, it's why I don't put some sort of referendum on this game. Yes, you can learn something, just like we learned about this team last week. It's the Browns. The Browns are struggling, but they're coming off a 2-game win streak, coming back home, feeling really good about themselves. And what do? They go out and handle business, right? You know, we learned about them in Arizona. They're coming off a big win on Monday night. Yeah, Jaden Daniels is, you know, he's now the king of the NFL after that game and that throw. And what's he do? He goes out and has a really good game because the way they handle their business. So I don't, you know, but I also think this is still a young team in terms of young being together, in terms of their growth as a team in general, but also with some key players. That's why, like, if it doesn't go well, I don't look and say, oh, they're not for real, because you got Carolina the next week, you go win that game, and now you're 5-2. You're going to tell me that's not good, you know, because I just think there's such a process that it's game upon game. You build and build. It's not just one game in the NFL. Go look at, and we know this, like every week in the NFL, you see this, a crazy score. Does it eliminate, you know, does Tampa Bay bad because they had a loss a couple weeks ago to Atlanta? No, you know, and so I think, and not that Atlanta's bad, but, you know, Baltimore's 3-2. They're a missed field goal from being 2-3, right? So, you know, you don't know how this goes. And so it's a good test, but I'm not going to go overboard if it somehow doesn't go well. I think if it goes really well, then you can feel pretty damn good. But I think this is still an ascending program. They're not up here yet as far as where they want to get to. There's a lot of growth still for this team that remains.
Well, I mean, Baltimore lost the Raiders earlier this year at home.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, and no one's sitting there going, oh, they're not that good anymore, because they've done it so many times for so many years, over and over and over. So you just know, and you expect that they're going to be there in the end. You know, with Washington, they haven't proven that. You know, we're at the beginning of something. They need to prove that they can get through this season, end up in because frankly, all they have to do is go 500 from here and they're going to make the playoffs. They'll have 10 wins. So, you know, like that's not a big ask from what you've seen so far. And look at the home schedule with some of the teams that are probably going to have pretty bad records when they face them, namely Carolina, potentially Tennessee. We'll see where Atlanta is at the end of the season. You know, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what we're facing here. So it feels very open for them to do this. But the reality is, like, Baltimore has their missteps just like any NFL team. But in the end, you always know that they're there. And you know with that quarterback that they're capable of beating just about anybody. And now that they've added Derrick Henry, those leads feel a little more secure to me. Typically, they get out to fast starts. At least historically they have. Now they have this running back that's going to barrel people over if they use it correctly. They've just been there, done that so many times. And I think that's why this is exciting to see it. Yeah. Doesn't mean that Washington's going to the Super Bowl if they beat them. And it doesn't mean that, you know, that they're a nothing burger if Baltimore knocks them off. I just think it's a great litmus test. And it's just so refreshing to be in games like this. Because I just don't feel like we've been in this for a very long time. I don't feel that way at all.
No. Because you also know that in the past, it was always like, can you get to this, get to 8 or 9, 10 wins? But the program, you didn't know where it was going to go. I think with this one, you know what this means because of number 5 and what he can do, what he means for this future. So this is another game to show that. And I do think it's a great test. And it's a really good test for the defense for sure. Yes. And, you know, I think it's like, if you go out there and have this great game, then and I think for some people are saying, what kind of a contender are they? Are they a contender for the playoffs? Are they a contender? Can they do more than that? Well, this is a good test for that. But even still, like you go out and you win and you're 5-1, a couple things go wrong and you're 5-3, right? So,
Right.
every game matters, but I think this is a really fun game. Like I'm looking forward to going to see this game just because we haven't covered a game like this in a long, long time. And more importantly, Bram, like I'm looking forward to covering possibly, I don't want to get way ahead. We're reporters. It doesn't matter. Like covering possibly games that mean something in December for a change. So here's the other thing. And with that point, that I think is important when this franchise in the past was like, well, how they handle success. I think a big key here is you have people in this building who have handled success, who have been to the top. Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, they know what this is, and what they know it is a 4-1 start. That's it. Dan Quinn has been to a Super Bowl. He's coached in a lot of big games. He's been to a couple of Super Bowls. He knows that this is not the end of something. It's the start. There have been times in the past where I think a lot of players felt like they had arrived before they did. And I think sometimes when Jim Zorn was here as a head coach, he thought they were something that they weren't. And it was, so you could see why they might collapse. With this team, I think they have some really strong leadership that will help them, I think, navigate this newfound success.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Quinn coached the Super Bowl in his second year in Atlanta. Quinn was on the Seattle staff that was Legion of Boom. Right. Quinn was coaching Dallas last year. Dallas's defense was among the best in the league, best turnover machines in the league. They won 12 games back-to-back years. Like, he's not accustomed to not having a lot of success, but in the end, he didn't win the final game in any of those seasons. With the exception of Seattle, right? Seattle, he's on those staffs. But like with the Dallas teams, that was a massive disappointment the way they went out in the playoffs a year ago. The Atlanta Super Bowl obviously is an all-time collapse, that occurred. So, I think that there's a lot there for him, but he has shown the propensity to have a lot of success in the past. Someone posted a question about feeling on the team right now, and I would just largely say I don't know. Like, I think, I love the Houston example because everyone kept talking about it. Like, well, what if Jaden has a CJ Stroud type season and what do they do? Like, remember, they were 10-7. It's not like they went 15-2. They were 10-7 and everybody went, that's amazing. And then they won a playoff game and they were in it with the Chiefs and they're like, that's amazing. So is the ceiling that? Is it beyond that? Look around the NFC right now. Like, who do you buy that is going to be there in the end to be in the way? Is it Detroit, who I think it is? Is it Minnesota, who's off to probably as surprising a start as Washington? The other one that people are going, is that real right now with Sam Darnold and a defense that is playing beyond expectation? Whatever you think of Brian Flores, like beyond expectation to be playing to that degree. And then you look up and you go, the Eagles are 500, easily could be 1-3 right now. San Francisco somehow lost to Arizona, have so many injuries. They're at 4. You kind of look around a little bit and you go, I don't know what the expectation is because I don't know how this is going to shake out and I don't know where they're going to be. Right. Like this large, here's what it's setting up for that I'm unbelievably excited about. And that is, we have a last game in Dallas this year and it's screaming that it's going to matter.
Oh yeah.
And we haven't had that in a couple of screaming that it's going to matter this year.
Right. Listen, the last time that game mattered late in the year, it feels like it was 2012. Because that was a great atmosphere. Now it was here. The other thing is, it's funny because someone else, and Sean says, his quote was, if we beat the Ravens, we'll be taken more seriously. They're taken seriously now. Like, I don't know, like when we do our ESPN rankings, they're a top 10 team. When they're talking about Jaden Daniels on the air and some shows as possibly being the MVP, they're taking them seriously. The other thing is, somebody up here also, Bram, had a question about Cliff Kingsbury. If we think, let me see if I can find it. If we think that he would move on after this season, the way the season's going, and
it's so early.
Well, let me say this. Like, the only thing I would say to that, it is very early for that. But the only thing I would want to address I just wanted to address this point. Everything I've heard is how much he enjoys being here and just being an offensive coordinator, and I don't think that's going to change. I do not think he'd go back to college. I think the recruiting stuff and all that stuff would be an issue. And I don't know that he would want to jump back into having the responsibility for everything else. I think part of why it works so well for him here, Bram, is because he's focused just on the offense. And it's fun to watch this offense. Like they're doing some fun, creative things and using guys. What I really like about this is what I like about good coaching and using guys for what they can do. And Austin Eckler, you can use him in a lot of different ways, and they are. That jet action on the handoff on the fourth down, like you have multiple things going on, but you have guys who can do multiple things, and you're using them that way. It's quite a concept, Bram. And so but that's where I think he's like the fact that he can just focus on this, I think really helps this offense.
It's so premature to talk about next year.
And well, I just wanted to bring it up to talk about what it means.
Ask him something like that, but there was a very telling quote he said the week of the Arizona game, which I thought was really interesting because obviously he was a big storyline going back there, and they asked him about Kyler Murray, and who knows what the relationship really is now. It doesn't really matter, but he did say this. He said, "I banked my career on working with that guy, believing there are things that he can do and we could do together." He said that. And he said, I still do believe that about him. And I would bet if you asked him honestly, as looking at this, he probably, I think, would similarly feel the same way. He has a special player that he's working with. He understands that. And, it'll be up to him about what he wants to do with opportunities. But I mean, I couldn't even begin to possibly guess, nor do I even think it's even appropriate to talk about it. We're in game 6 of the first season. Let's just, let's get through this year, see how it goes, and we'll worry about staff changes at a much later date.
But the only reason I wanted to bring that up is to highlight why I think it's working well right now. And I think it's because of what the situation he's in, which is just focus on the offense. And I think that matters to coaches. And so and I think there's a good rapport, really good rapport between he and Daniels. And I think all that stuff matters, but I think it also is why this offense is working so well. And when you can just focus on one thing, and when we're seeing the fruits of that labor with this team. So, but it's the other thing too, and you brought this up at the start, and I'm glad you brought it up. And something I wanted to point out too, is the number of different contributions, and sometimes in subtle ways and sometimes in big ways. And it's Olamide Zaccheaus. And Dan Quinn pointed out the play where he runs down on Eckler's 50-yard run and recovers a fumble. The dude goes in jet motion to the left, circles back around down the other side, and is hauling ass like you just don't see. And I should have tried the next gen stats to see how fast he was running in that play, because it was impressive. And if he doesn't do that, they may not recover the ball. When you start getting those kind of plays, you have a special team. And then, you watch, again, I'll bring up Zaccheaus every week because I think he does something every week, subtle or big, that I think helps them. And then you look at McCaffrey, the blocking that they do. It's up and down. The line, I think, has really been cohesive with that. So I think there's just up and down the line. Fedarian Mathis has the best game that I've seen him play, Bram. And I think you're getting there. You go. Go ahead.
Okay. So he's totally rejuvenated. You could see his personality's coming out, which we hadn't really seen. And the play where he batted the ball down, he took this rookie guard, Zach Zinter, and threw him 3 yards backwards. Yeah. There was another sack where Frankie Louvu threw Jerome Ford into Deshaun Watson. The physicality that they're playing with, it's really noticeable on offense with Sinnott. Yeah. He's like a missile blocking. Zaccheaus is doing a lot of it downfield. McLaurin is active doing it. On the B-Rob touchdown run, go watch McCaffrey on the edge blocking people.
Phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. And then, I pointed this out to Quinn when I talked to him last week. I go, and not that he doesn't know it, but I go, coming into the game last week, and I'd have to check now, 13 different players have made a tackle on a special teams coverage unit. 13. Wow. That's really a big, think about that for a second. That's a huge number. 13 different players. Typically it's either Jeremy Reeves or maybe it was Tyler Owens because he's the one that's the gunner running down the field. No, 13 different players have made a tackle. This guy, Nick Ballore, who's a longtime veteran, played in Seattle for Larry Izzo, gets brought here late, I think it was after camp. They signed him. He's a missile on these punt coverage teams. It's everybody. I mentioned Tremaine early. He just got called up from the practice squad. He's out blocking on the 3rd and 11 run just to run the clock. Like, it's everybody, John. I mean, that's why this is real. It's everybody. It's not this one guy. It's not Jaden Superman. Sam Cosmi's playing at a Pro Bowl level. Tyler Biotish is having an unbelievable season at the center position for them. All these other, players, if the ball's not going to them, it doesn't matter. They're actively involved in all of it. It's wild to see. Like, this is a team. It is wild to see.
It is. And you know what else I think is part of that too, is I think there's an atmosphere there, and I'll credit Quinn. And it's funny because I'll go back to when they hired him. And I know there was all the talk about, Ben Johnson, this and that. And there were national plans like, why would they hire him? Like, what he is showing is exactly what I heard from people around the league. Exactly what I've heard, and why people like playing for him. But you see it, like you can have a relationship with guys, but it's like when they know that you're seeing what they're doing and that it matters to you, even if it's a little thing like Zacchaeus congratulating teammates in a game where he's dressed but not playing much. Like, little things like that are pointed out by the head coach, and that has to matter to guys. Like, they're seeing what others are doing, and they're noticing all those little things. And I think when you do that and you feel like your work matters to the coach, you go harder. And plus, I also think, Bram, too, when you want to have a smart, tough team, you find smart, tough players. And I think they did a good job with that because
I thought John Allen was John Allen made a tackle on a running back on the edge. Like everybody's waking up here. This is the one guy we haven't seen a game from yet. And I'm waiting. Deron Payne. We haven't had a Deron Payne game yet because every year he's got one or two where he's blowing up plays. We haven't seen that one yet. We haven't seen a lot of turnovers yet. I loved the play. The Sanders still hit on Watson was amazing. So on this one, on this is amazing. And this is a little bit on Deshaun, and because I don't want to get into him because he's really playing the position very poorly in my opinion right now. But like, that also was going in. But like, so on this play, they looked like they looked like they were going to bring pressure, but they actually dropped 7. They only brought 4. But Deshaun vacates the pocket anyway, even though he has time, starts running. It's a 3rd and long or whatever. He's 5 yards past. He's 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, okay? And then like pretends like he's going to throw the ball. He's 3 yards inbound. Sanders still tags him. And then he like looks at him like, how did you hit me like that? And I'm sitting there going, this ain't two-hand touch, buddy. And you clearly don't even know where you are on the field. They had him so messed up that he didn't even realize that he's 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. He gets tagged, not even close to the sideline, and they fooled him by dropping people. This is a guy's been in the league and was a Pro Bowler. I mean, it's wild. It really is.
Well, I think there were a couple of times that the rush got to him where maybe he vacated, because there was even one in the red zone where I'm like, if you keep your eyes up, that's a touchdown. But
he had a layup touchdown to Jerry Jeudy that he missed. It was the one that Dorrance Armstrong like tagged him on. Like,
correct.
Some of this was his play, obviously. Correct. Some of it was his play. Some of it was their offensive line had been really getting crossed up coming into the game. I think some of this is just lack of confidence on that side of the ball. So there's a lot going on here. But at the same time, Washington's taking advantage of it. They're blowing them out. They're playing with a lot more intensity and physicality. And that's why I say, like, the one thing that's missing, because I'll just go back to what the coaches have said all along. They say ball is life. I haven't seen that part yet. What's going to happen if they start getting some short fields? Like, what is going to happen? We haven't seen that yet.
That's a great point. And I agree with you. Like, the one thing I liked last week is they handled their business. And what everybody wants says, like, the Browns, Deshaun actually against the Raiders the previous week was better. Now, I mean, he was just better. There were a couple of issues in the Giants game that weren't all on him. It wasn't all on him in the Raiders game, but man, they just made him look really bad. But that's what good teams do. And, it's funny because they started off slow. You stay the course, no panic. And part of it has to be no panic because that offense isn't going to hurt you. But still, like it was an impressive, like, they start off slow, Bram. You go boom, 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 and it's 24-3 at halftime.
I mean, that part. I mean, that's incredible too. Like,
right?
They played their most inefficient offensive game all year, and you look up and they got 24 points up at halftime.
Yes.
You know what? For a second.
So it reminded me of the team I root for on Saturdays, Ohio State, where some games are like, God, they look like they're not playing well. What's going on? boom, boom, boom. Now it's up 30-0. You know what I mean? Like that when I was like, but you kind of like, I was just waiting for that. And I'll tell you what, Bram, like
They're
that
not
Brown
Boise State. This isn't like some low tier
that's what I'm
conference
saying,
football
though.
where you're like, oh well, they'll just turn it on at some point.
No, but my point is, it's just that they just hit it and they went, and that's what I saw. And so, you're right. Like the Browns defense is a good defense. Like if they had an offense on the other side of the ball, that's a good defense because they can play. They'd be really good playing from ahead with those passes, with some of the speed they have. So like it wasn't. They did that against a good defense. I mean, and a lot of it, some of it was absolutely play calling, execution on some of those big plays, savviness, like you brought up with Jaden and Cliff Kingsbury. So there was all sorts of reasons why that worked. And so, I think that's why, and they're still, you can watch the games again and say, oh, Jaden, if you hit this one or this one, and I'll say this, I've seen this I was talking to Logan Paulson about this earlier this year. Like I watched a game for one of these game preps where I'm watching Kansas City and I'm like, oh, Mahomes missed this play. Mahomes missed that play. And he's Mahomes. So if Mahomes is going to miss these throws or not see some things, every quarterback will, right? But the point is there are still more things that if just a little bit more and you got this, right? That's where he gets better every week. And there's still more he can do because he's only played 5 games. He's a rookie.
They scored 34 points. They were inefficient early for a quarter. Like he didn't play basically the fourth quarter. Remember that part? No. So he did it all really in 2 quarters, right? He did it all in 2 quarters. And he missed 2 touchdowns, one to McLaurin on a scramble, a miss to Ertz that could have been a touchdown. And he missed Ertz on what would have been a long play from deep in their own end where he was running up the seam. That would have been at least a 40-yard play. He missed him on that. So it's not like he was perfect, and yet they still scored 34 points. And it's all these little key moments, too, where he's so cool, calm, collected. It's the wow plays here. Like that 4th and 3 play says everything to me. They called the play. There's a chip block on JOK. JOK gets by it. Free rusher on him, okay? The play's not there. He doesn't force it. He jukes Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. All of a sudden, open grass, he's running down the field. And Eckler, who had this little chip block, realizes it and is blocking down the field.
Well, he's also taking guys deeper.
This is not a team that has 30 new players on it. Like it's ridiculous how in coordination they are with one another, how they're playing for each other across the top and bottom of the roster. It's really, truly amazing. And I can't be, I don't even know. There's no other words for it, really. I can't believe it's happening to this level. I'm ecstatic that it's happening to this level. And I'm super excited about this weekend because I know that team brings it like this too. And I can't wait to see them match up with them.
Yeah. And, just the last thing on it, and we'll wrap this up here, but on some of those plays that he gets outside the pocket, and even the JOK one where you just brought up, if JOK isn't as fast as he is, and because he's got McCaffrey breaking open over the middle on that play, but because of JOK's speed, I don't think you can get to the drop. I don't think he's got the timing down for it. So you got to get out of there. You've got to vacate. And you're doing it against one of the fastest linebackers. There were multiple times, Ram, where you see the Browns players hitting the turf after they get up, after they missed him. Just think of how many sacks they would have had with a different quarterback back there, and they didn't have that. So, that's what he gives you. And the reason why you like guys like Jaden is going to be is a very good passer, and will have terrific games with that. But the weapon with the legs is just such an added bonus for him. And he can make plays while he's having quote unquote, not a great game and, throwing the ball, and he still really makes big plays. 34-yard run, 41-yard touchdown pass. I mean, 66-yard, that 66-yard to McLaurin was unbelievable. And
it's his instincts, John. It's his instincts. Like he has to make these split-second decisions. He's doing it. It's like an car driver. Like he knows when to pass. It's a remarkable. Correct. And then I mean, he's like an AI quarterback. Like you feed him information and he just gets better. It's like a better version. He's ChatGPT. It's like a better version every time. It's really insane. And it's so fun to watch. And we've waited a long time to have this. And I hope it sustains. It's the NFL though. And things are going to change. And I'll just tell you this, up front in watching him, if I'm a team that's defending him now, I'm not sending my ends up the field against him or going straight at the center of a pocket. Like you gotta hold an edge on him and make him beat you from literally inside the pocket, because when he gets out on the edge, forget it, you're over. So I expect that to be an adjustment by teams as we go forward here, that I think that they're going to set edges on him, and they're going to tell their ends, you can't try to break down a pocket or come around the far edge. Once he gets around you, you're done. You're done.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm actually going to have Jay Gruden on talking about what, just the Jaden start, but also adjustments that he thinks that he can make and that teams may make to try and take a lot of it away, because they're going to do that. And they're going to spend all offseason trying to take it away too. We saw that in 2012. They did not have a situation where the quarterback could adjust to what other teams were doing, and for a variety of reasons. But I think this one will. But that's so far down the road. The other thing that's down the road, people are asking about. They're asking about the trade deadline, corners, and all that. We'll get to that in a couple of weeks. We're a little bit early on that one too. So, but don't worry, folks asking about it. We'll get to that down the road. So in a couple of weeks. But anyways, Bram, that's all we got. I'm looking forward to Sunday because it's just fun to cover bigger games. And even if it's an early season big game, it's still one between two exciting quarterbacks, two really good offenses. I don't know the last time that you and I sat in a press box where you could say that. So it'll be fun to see. So anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. And again, thanks for coming on, Bram. I'll be back on Thursday with Jay Gruden, former Washington coach, talking about Jaden Daniels, what he has seen, and how teams might adjust. So there you go, folks. I will talk to you next time.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized, so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.